Hi, in this video I just want to give you a quick overview of the vocabulary that's used in the framework for K-12 science education and the next generation science standards. Having an understanding of the way that different types of terms are used will really help as you kind of dig into reading the standards and trying to understand the impact of these standards on your teaching. So the next generation science standards are based on the National Research Council's report, Framework for K-12 Science Education. What this report did was outline what science should look like in the United States, and identified a series or three different dimensions. So a series of 8 science and engineering practices, 7 cross-cutting concepts, and 13 disciplinary core ideas. Those 3 dimensions form the basis for the standards. So as we start with science and engineering practices, these were called practices intentionally instead of called skills, because what it does is it acknowledges that in order to engage in this process of science and engineering, students need to have specific knowledge. Need to have specific knowledge. So there's 8 science and engineering practices that build developmentally from kindergarten all the way through high school. So the first one is asking questions and defining problems, developing and using models, planning and carrying out investigations, analyzing and interpreting data, using mathematics and computational thinking, constructing explanations and designing solutions, engaging in arguments from evidence, and the final practice is obtaining, evaluating, and communicating information. I think one thing that's important to note is those final 3 practices, so constructing explanations, engaging in arguments, and obtaining, evaluating, and communicating information are very well aligned and complementary to the Common Core English Language Arts standards for science and technical fields. The next dimension is cross-cutting concepts. So cross-cutting concepts are the concepts or ideas that stretch across all the different disciplines of science. And the benefit of focusing standards on cross-cutting concepts, or our teaching on cross-cutting concepts, is that it helps provide students with an organizational structure for understanding the world. So there's 7 cross-cutting concepts, again, that build kindergarten through 12th grade. Patterns, cause and effect, scale, proportions, and quantity, systems and system models, energy and matter in systems, structure and function, and the last cross-cutting concept is stability and change in systems. Finally, the framework outlines a series of disciplinary core ideas. So these core ideas are there's a small number of them, and they're foundational to science. So they're the biggest ideas that really define the different fields of science. So within physical science, there's 4 disciplinary core ideas. There's also 4 in the life sciences. There's 3 disciplinary core ideas in earth and space science. And in the framework and the next generation science standards, the role of engineering and applied science has also been provided more of a spotlight, and there's 2 disciplinary core ideas in that area. Now, each of those disciplinary core ideas are split into component ideas. So those component ideas are kind of big ideas that give depth to the disciplinary core ideas. For example, for core idea 3 in physical science, so the idea of energy, there's 4 component ideas. So the first one is definitions of energy. The second is conservation of energy and transfer of energy. The third component idea is relationships between energy and forces, and the final is energy and chemical processes in everyday life. So as you can see, those 4 component ideas really give depth to those disciplinary core ideas. So I think one thing that's really important is one of the goals really was to identify a coherent scope and sequence of a few ideas that are central to science, that build on each other, or that build throughout a student's experience kindergarten through 12th grade. So as you think about it, that's it. When you put all these component ideas together, there's 44 big ideas that stretch from kindergarten to high school. So the 3 dimensions are then knitted together into performance expectations. So you heard me quite a few times as I was discussing the other dimensions, that they follow a progression, or they build upon each other from kindergarten through 12th grade. So the framework and the standards are both built off of learning progressions. So a developmental sequence that stretches from kindergarten through 12th grade for each of the component ideas, the science and engineering practices, and the cross-cutting concepts. So these progressions and this intertwining of practices, cross-cutting concepts, and core ideas provide performance expectations. So the heart of the next generation science standards are these performance expectations. What's important to realize is that they're guidelines for assessment, not instructional tasks or curricular mandates. So for example, if you look at a performance expectation from the middle school, you see this one here is develop models to describe the atomic composition of simple molecules and extended structures. So clearly this performance expectation integrates practices, cross-cutting concepts, and core ideas. As you look at this, you'll also notice that there's some text in red. So the performance expectations also include both assessment boundaries, which give you ideas of what is included in the performance expectation and the types of things that are not. So in this case, at this middle school level, you don't include assessing students on valence electrons and bonding energies and those types of things. The other statements that are in red are called clarification statements. So those kind of clarify what is intended by that performance expectation. So as you look at a page of the next generation science standards, it really looks, it can be pretty overwhelming at first until you dig in and start to see how the different pieces work together. So when you look at a page, it kind of looks something like this. And if we kind of look at the pieces, if you start at the top, you've got a title, and then you have, and that title is keyed off of the disciplinary core ideas, and then you have a set of performance expectations in the top box. In the middle, you have three colored boxes. So you have a blue box for the science and engineering practices, an orange box for disciplinary core ideas, and a green box for cross-cutting concepts. What's important about these foundation boxes is that they provide statements directly from the framework to give some clarity, additional clarity to the performance expectations. And then finally, at the bottom, what you'll see on each standards page is a series of connection boxes. So these connection boxes help you as you think about planning instruction to look at how the performance expectations on this page are related to other performance expectations within NGSS, but then also how the performance expectations might be related to grade level or grade band appropriate skills in standards in the Common Core State Standards for math and the Common Core State Standards for English Language Arts. So it's a great tool to help us as we plan instruction to see how it connects to other areas. So here's an example of one page, again the middle school structure and properties of matter page, and what you'll see. So again, if you focus on the top, what you'll see are the performance expectations. So in this case, you have a few things that you can look at. First, each performance expectation has a specific reference to the disciplinary core idea. So the one, as you can see that the arrow pointing to, is the middle school, and it's the disciplinary core idea for physical science, the first one. The next thing, again, you can see in red is the assessment and clarification statements. Now if you look at that middle area, you've got the foundational boxes, so the text from the framework. You can see specific text from the framework, and also after that text it shows in parentheses where that is referred to in the performance expectation up above. And then finally at the bottom you have the connection boxes to other areas within the grade level and across grade level, and then also the connections to the Common Core State Standards.